Stand for a tale so grand. Shushan is the place where it all began. The hidden miracle. One man, second in command. Slay all the Jews was his wicked plan. A scheme so miserable. He chose a day for the disaster. It's ironic what came after.
Welcome to Hamantaschen Making with Lauren Zeichner. For those of many of you know me, some don't. I've been a member of Congregation Children of Israel for 41 years. One of the things that I think I have a real affinity towards Purim and the treats that go along with it. When I was born, I was named Lauren Ellen, but my Hebrew name, the most important one, was named after my great-grandmother, who was named Esther. So my parents decided not only would it be Esther, but my name would be Esther Malka, which means Esther the Queen. So I've always felt that this was my holiday, that the tribute to, this holiday was a tribute to a Jewish heroine who saved her people, and I've always felt very close to it. For the past 20 years, I've been working with the youth group. First, it was just for the Purim Carnival, and we would make Hamantaschen for the meals we were selling. And people wanted to buy them by the dozen. So we started making more and more, and it became the major AFTI fundraiser. Now, actually last year, we were making hundreds and hundreds of them. We sometimes we're short a person here or there. So a community member, parents of youth group kids, or sometimes Hillel has come in to help us out. People who just want to learn how to make Hamantaschen, and after your first 100, you're pretty good. So it has been a wonderful experience for me in every year getting to know the youth of our temple, who have always been amazing kids. And I teach them, it's a business. We have to make something that looks good as well as tastes good. We have to be efficient. We can't eat all the profits. And most important of all, we have the camaraderie of working together. I try and give each youth group member the job that fits them, the job that they want to do, because when they want to do it, the product is always that much better. So baking is a science. If the recipe says 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, that's what you put in. If it says 2 cups of flour, that's what you put in. So unless you've changed the recipe because you found it didn't work quite right. So I'm just going to show, for perhaps anybody who's had a little bit of less experience, when I've measured all our ingredients out. But if I was to measure a cup of flour, first of all, I don't want it packed down. I want it to be lightly put in there. And then I want to go like this to fill in any little crevices. And then I take this and I go like that. That's a cup. A cup shouldn't be 7 ounces. It shouldn't be 9 ounces. This is an 8-ounce cup. That's how much we want to put into our product. So here I've measured out our 3/4 of a cup of sugar, granulated sugar. This is 2 cups of flour, again, not pressed down, but we really don't have to sift it here. I have baking powder, which is not baking soda, is baking powder. That's a 1.5 teaspoons. And I measured the teaspoons the same way. I put it in, I take my straight edge, I go like that. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There's 1 egg. And 2 tablespoons of orange juice. So first first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my oven on, I'm going to preheat my oven. The temperature for these are 400 degrees Fahrenheit, but every oven is a little bit different. In my oven, it's a convection oven. A convection oven, you usually want to put it 25 degrees less, so like about 375 degrees. Once you make your first batch, you can tell if it's cooking too fast or cooking too slow. But figure convection oven 375, regular oven 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So first we're going to take all of the dry ingredients and we're going to put them into our mixer. So that was the flour, 3/4 cup of sugar, my baking powder, and I put that on the top because I want to make sure that it gets incorporated in there. Because it's a little bit that maybe if it got caught on the bottom of the pan, it wouldn't mix well. Salt. And now I'm going to put it on the slowest speed and just mix it around a little bit. If I put it too fast, it's all in your face. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my butter, which is straight from the refrigerator, not the freezer, but the refrigerator, and I'm going to cut it up. So I cut it usually down the center once, and then in pieces here. And then I take the whole thing and I put it into my dry ingredients. And I start it again on slow. What will happen is I don't want it to be totally homogeneous. I want it to look crumbly. And so we're going to let it turn until I'm going to go up one notch. Now, if my butter is too warm, it won't stay in little pieces. It won't get crumbly. Now watch it. We're getting there. Okay, you see how it looks like little pebbles in there? That's what I want to see. But I'm going to let it continue for a small bit here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my egg and I'm going to put that in. And again, I want to put it all in. Nothing. When I feel it's sort of mixed around, I'm going to put in this is 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Doesn't matter what kind of orange juice you have. The orange juice gives the dough a nice flavor. If you didn't have orange juice, you could probably use water and get the same idea. Okay, I'm going to make it slower. Now I'm going to put in my orange juice. Now, it should form into a dough. If it doesn't, we might have to add more orange juice. But I want to give it the chance to form that dough. So if you see now, you can see that it's actually, I haven't added anything more, but it's starting to form that dough. And I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to feel it. And I think it just needs a little bit more liquid. So I put it into something I could pour, but I'm really not going to put much. You see that? It's about a tablespoon I put in. And I'm going to keep it going because I want it to be like a workable dough. Okay. Let's look inside. And you see how it comes off of the sides? That's good. That's what we want, and that's where we're going for. So as soon as it comes off of the sides, that means our dough is good. And we're going to put this okay. I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn the dough out on this with a tiny bit of flour, just a small amount. And what we're going to do is we need to have the dough needs to chill. So I'm going to take this and just make it so it's like, and make it into a nice patty. And sometimes I even make it into 2 patties because I want to make it in the amount that I want to roll it out in. So, and then I take some cling wrap or some sort of plastic wrap and put it into the refrigerator. I'm going to have it in the refrigerator for probably a half an hour. While our dough is chilling, I'm going to show you how to make a chocolate filling. Now you ask, why do I have to use a chocolate filling? I always put in chocolate chips. That works. What I find is that the chocolate chips stay as chocolate chips. They don't like fill up the area in the center of the Hamantaschen. And so it's very simple to make a chocolate ganache in the microwave, and I think it tastes better. It's a little, it's not discrete pieces of chocolate, but it's more like a filling. So we're going to make the chocolate filling, and then we're going to talk a little bit about other kinds of fillings we can put in here. So let's get started. First, we put in a cup in a microwave-safe bowl. We put in a cup of chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips. And I like cooking with the mini chocolate chips because they melt faster. Simple as that. I'm going to put those into the bowl. Next, we have 1/3 cup of sugar. This is optional. We've always put it in. I guess I've always been afraid to try it without, but it could be. The chocolate is, the semi-sweet chocolate's very nice. So that's 1/3 cup. You could also put in half that if you wanted. That really doesn't matter. Next, we put in a tablespoon of butter. Now, I don't know if everybody's seen this, but on the outside of the butter, and this of course is unsalted butter, on the outside of the butter, it gives you tablespoon measurements. So we're just going to use that and cut 1 tablespoon off and put it down there. And for our dough also, I neglected to mention, but we use unsalted butter or unsalted margarine. Next, we have a tablespoon of milk, and it helps it to, now it's really hard to pour from a big gallon of milk 1 tablespoon, so I put it into something where I can easily measure out. Next, it is a teaspoon of vanilla extract. A lot of vanilla extract has different flavors. I like the pure vanilla extract, but you can get Mexican, you can get artificial. It just changes the flavor a little bit. Okay, that is, now of course, in reality, you should be doing it not over the top of where you're going to put it in case you have a little accident, but you can't really have a bad accident with vanilla. Okay, and good. I'm going to take this, I'm going to go over to the microwave. Now, if you burn chocolate, there is no going back. There's no remedy for it. If chocolate burns, you have to go and start again from the beginning. So we're going to be very careful with how we're heating this. And what we're going to do is put the microwave on like a low, medium setting, and we're going to start it at 1 minute. And then we're going to look at it. And chances are it won't all be melted yet. But then we're going to put it in another minute. Or if we're close to the end, maybe 30 seconds. And constantly looking at it. So I'm going to go cook power 5, cook time 1. Also, some microwaves are stronger than the other microwave. Okay, this is 1 minute at half. And you see we started getting some melting going on there. Our butter's almost melted. And I'm sort of thinking, stir it up really good. And I'm thinking, I'm going to put it on 30 seconds because, again, I don't want to burn it. Okay, I'm going to switch over to a spatula. So putting it on 30 seconds, cook power 5, cook time 3:0, and let it rip. Here we have it at another 30 seconds, and Okay, not bad, not bad. I think we're good to go. We're gonna now add our egg in. And the egg, the idea is we don't wanna cook the egg, but we wanna mix it in. So I wanna get it here, and I wanna very carefully, the egg adds a little bit more fat to the situation. Now, the thing about the chocolate filling is we really have to use it pretty much right away because it starts, as it cools, it starts to harden up. I'm going to put this on here. But I have put it in the refrigerator sometimes when I've not, when I finished with it and gently heated it up in the microwave, and it was just fine. So I want to basically make it homogeneous. And then I end up with one beautiful, shiny chocolate filling, but one that it's very workable. We've tried many different fillings with the AFTI group, and we have come up with 5 that are true, tried, can't make a mistake on. We found with jams that raspberry and apricot were no-brainers. They always came out great. We found that other jams like peach, and we tried sugar-free at one point for somebody, and strawberry I think have a higher sugar content, and so it causes them to bubble more when they're cooked, and then it bubbles right out of the Hamantaschen. So I stay away from those. Orange marmalade I've been pretty successful with, and sometimes one of my favorite Hamantaschen is to take some orange marmalade and then take some of these small mini chocolate chips and put them in, in the middle with the orange marmalade. Makes a really nice Hamantaschen, the orange and chocolate. I'm not going to demo the prune filling because it is such a no-brainer. You take all the ingredients, you have them in the recipe, you put them into the food processor, let it rip, and you have your filling all done. The only issue sometimes is sometimes the prunes themselves are less soft than other times, and it should feel in the end like a jam. If it is more pasty than that, you might want to add a little bit of orange juice or water, or you could add something alcoholic in there, like a rum, or you can be creative. But just add a little bit to make it so it's not pasty, more like jam. Now, the other kind that is the old favorite is poppy seed. And I have never made my own poppy seed filling, as others have, I've heard. But I use the Solo poppy seed filling. If you can't find it at Kroger's, Publix more often has it. The past couple of years, it's been harder to find. But it makes a perfect filling. I just want to add, going back a notch, on the flour, it's all-purpose flour that we're using, and you can use for the dough. It can be bleached, unbleached. Just don't use biscuit flour, the white lily biscuit flour. So now we're going to take our chilled dough out of the refrigerator. It's nice and chilled. I like working on this silicone mats, the Silpad, or a generic one. They are amazing because I can roll out and turn it around if I want. They're just very convenient. So I put a little flour on it, and because I don't want it to stick to my rolling pin. And this rolling pin is a long rolling pin because it's really good for big, like pie crusts and such. But you don't have to, you can pick one up in Kroger's if you don't have a rolling pin. If you're really desperate, an empty wine bottle works. There are a lot of ways to roll out your dough. So I'm going to, and I want to make sure my rolling pin has some also on it. And so here I'm just going to turn this around rather than turning me around. And I want to, maybe sometimes, see that did that because it didn't have enough flour on it. I like to have your flour right next to you. What I do find is the first time I roll that dough, it's not as smooth. And then when I take all the little pieces and I re-roll them, it's smoother, the dough. So here I want to get it to about 1/8 of an inch thick. That's pretty good. Now this is a 3-inch cookie cutter. You buy it once and then you have it. It's really a good investment. I don't like using, personally, a glass because it's slower. And we've always been into efficiency with AFTI because we make so many of them. But when you put this down here, if you have a water glass, this sometimes will stick to the water glass, and then it takes time to get it out. So here, we don't have that problem. And I just conserve my dough. I want to have it get as many as I can out of one time through, and gently pick them up, put them over. They don't move too much, so you don't need that much, because we're going to fold them in. You don't need that much space on the... A graduate student from Hillel who revolutionized our process here, because we had our special people who would be the ones in charge of closing it, and it was problematic. They would always open. And this young woman came, and she changed our lives, because she showed us a method that I'm going to show you, and all of a sudden we stopped having them open up on us. When I do this, I like to use these long handled spoons I have, because because I can get into the bottom of the jam jar. Okay, so we put about a teaspoon into the bottom of each one. Then I take one side and I fold it over. Think of an equilateral triangle. Then I take the other side and I fold it, and you see how this comes over it? Okay, then this side comes over that side. So here's over, over. Now this one, of course, has to tuck under. And then we just give it a little press here. And it's amazing. It stays closed. It's magic. Okay, I'm going to make a couple of the, this is with the orange marmalade, and I have to say this is homemade orange marmalade, where I actually used one etrog in it. So it's sort of bringing a little bit of Sukkot home to Purim. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to put a little bit of chocolate chips in them. Sort of end up with a little bit like a Jaffa cake kind of flavor to them, and I really like that. I've also made very successfully guava jam that I made for my Brazilian daughter-in-law, and that was very successful also. Had a really good taste. I'm not sure if I put the chocolate in or not. So you can be creative. Just be careful how creative you are. Just maybe don't do a whole recipe of something. Experiment. So again, folding 1, 2, 3, and tuck it in, and then give it a little push. And if for some reason, because sometimes the flour will get in the way and it's not sticking, I take a little bit of water and I just put my finger on it and put the water on the spot to act as the glue, and it works beautifully. It'll stick right away. That one goes under, over, under, over. If you put, we're all tempted to be as sumptuous as possible. If you put too much filling, can cause them to explode. So like this one and this one, they're at the edge of capacity there. So sometimes it's a less is more sometimes. Okay, we got 2 more. 1, 2, 3, and tuck it in and push on the corners. 1, 2, oop, no, not yet. Always have to just look which direction it's going. And last one, and into the oven. Okay, we're going to put this in the oven for 12 minutes. Now, if I don't know my oven well, I might want to set the timer for 10 minutes and look at them. They should be golden brown. It shouldn't all be white, shouldn't be dark brown, it should be a golden brown. Now, what I neglected to mention before is these are the cookie sheets I use, which I love. These are the Cushionaire ones. This one is a particularly large. These are the usual size cooking sheets. And what I love about this is one recipe often can fit on one cookie sheet. They're great, but it's hard to find them. Anyhow, but if you don't have one that's double-sided, a single one is fine. Just keep your eye on it so it doesn't burn. So I'm going to put this into the oven now and set my timer. So we pulled them out of the oven and let them cool. This was 12 minutes. You see that some of them are a little toasty. So maybe 11 minutes would have done on this. Our only one that exploded here was not the folds. The corners stayed together. We put a little bit too much in that one. But everything else is nice, and we'll put them on here to see the shape. And those are our Hamantaschen. I hope this has empowered everybody to go forth and make your own this year.
Filled with celebration, everyone ate Hamantaschen. Jubilation for the nation. Can't